I'd like to call to order the Weathersfield School Board meeting for Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. It's 7 p.m. And we'd all like to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and
to the republic which stands one nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remember the lyrics.
Focus. Okay, do we have any changes or additions to the agenda? Brian, I know you have a...
Yes, I would just like to be able to meet in the executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Raise your hand. Okay, I don't see anyone. We have approval of the minutes from October 12th, 2021. I sort of glanced over them. I didn't have a good chance to read them really well. Did anybody? Really well? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from October 12th? Okay. Jamie's making a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second. It's Kristen.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next up, we have, if there's any public participation or announcements. So then up is the principal's report.
So, thank you. Oh, hold on. All right, well, welcome. Here's our lead learner report for November 9th, 2021. So we'll go ahead and get started. First off, just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on our 7th grade presentation that we saw last month at our October 12th meeting. So our board here in Weathersfield got to see our presentation through SAPA TV. So they invited our 3 groups of students to present at the select board on November the 1st, which was great. Students presented at the firehouse. That's where we had the meeting at, and they now are going to look at it for the planning board as well. So pretty awesome opportunity to be able to have our students show what they're learning in school and be able to present it to our community. Tonight we do not have any students because we did have a student set up and then she got a little stage fright. So we said, okay, we can do it next month. So we went ahead and scratched her for today. All right, so Leader and me, Lighthouse team has been meeting. We do have a day set up on November 19th where the entire school will be working together. It's our next early release day. And so we have time for us to work together as a staff to look at those next steps. Again, Ms. Cole has been doing her SEL lessons, which have been great. And it's really nice to start hearing that vocabulary around the school. I know when kids have been coming in, they've been talking about being proactive. They've been talking about begin with the end in mind, which is nice. Those are some of the lessons that she's been working with. So that whole lingo is starting to get in there with our students, and they're starting to really understand and live the Leader in Me life, which is a great start to where we're going. And our motto is to go slow, to go fast. All right, enrollment and attendance for October 13th through today. So our total enrollment is up to 231. Our average daily attendance is 93.41%, and we just added 3 new students within the last couple of weeks. And then we have, I believe, 3 more that are coming in. So if we lose 1 or 2, then we're gaining. So we're up 1 from where we were last month. So we lost 2, but now we're up 3. So positive 1, which is nice. Continuing on working together. So Brandon Golnick, who is our town manager, and Olivia Savage, who works within the town. They came to judge our door decorating contest that we had during Red Ribbon Week. And the final day of it was on the 29th of October. And so all the classes participated in the theme-based anti-drug door decorating contest. They had some type of message that had to do with anti-drugs. And we had set up, I think Brandon and Olivia were a little overwhelmed because I created being a teacher and an educator, of course, I created a 6-point rubric that had 4 scales. And so I told them originally it would take them about 20 minutes to judge all the doors. It was about an hour and 40 minutes by the time they were done. And they really took it serious, which was nice. They had a lot of time here. And then they narrowed it down to 3 winning doors. They had one that was just a great door, which is actually Miss Smith's up in the library. This was her door right here. And then, let me go back, sorry. And then we had 2 other doors we had in Miss Kay's class in 6th grade. They had a great Harry Potter theme, including music and floating candles. And then in kindergarten, we had a don't huff and don't puff, don't do that stuff. It was a whole 3 little pigs theme. And the winning motto on there that I think did it was drink water, not soap. Or yes, and so it just cracked me up and made me laugh in the minds of kindergartners and where they're coming with. But it was really nice to have Brandon and Olivia here and spend part of the day with us on the 29th to get to see some of the festivities that are going on at school. Oops, I'm going the wrong way now. All right, so again, I mentioned there because we're working on that building community piece. Brandon Golnick and Olivia came, 7th grade students. We met with the Budget Advisory Committee today to talk about our budget with some members of our community. Continuing our monthly conversations with Chief Spalding about fire safety. When we talked, because of COVID, obviously they can't come into the schools to be able to discuss fire safety. So we're hoping for the spring, but it's great to have that communication between our fire department and our school. And then the last thing that's pretty awesome, and this builds us through the whole state of Vermont, not just within our own community, is so the state of Vermont had a name the plow truck contest. And so we were one of the winning entries. And so we have Big Bessie, which is named for Wethersfield School. So we have our own plow that will be coming here. And they're going to do the dedication next Wednesday on the 17th. So we'll get to have a picture ops with Big Bessie. So really excited about that. I'm just like, again, just something different that I've never experienced before. So not only do we get a plow, but we help to get name a plow. No, we never had to name a plow contest. Or if it was a plow, maybe it was like, I don't know. No, we didn't have any type of plows. So really excited to have Big Bessie coming here next week. So we'll make sure that we take lots of photos of Big Bessie and give the students the opportunity to see the plow. Parent-teacher conferences, we finished up most of them. The official days were last Thursday and Friday, where we had early release days, and I'm trying to get used to that because I keep saying minimum days. That's where I came from, those minimum days, they're early release days here. The teachers really made a good opportunity to try to reach out to all the families so that they could have a conference. And then I know some teachers, like our middle level teachers, are still using some of that time. I was not a stellar parent and I forgot to book my conferences. So mine is now November 22nd, the day right before we go on Thanksgiving break. So met with one of my kids today on a different, and we made that into the conference and then my daughter's conference. So she's nervous now between now and November 22nd. So, but she shouldn't have anything to worry about. Okay, so staff joins in on some of our Red Ribbon Week festivities. So in the office, if you guys don't recognize that cowboy, that is Brian Woodbury, our wonderful custodian. And so people, when I first got here, they decided they couldn't have 2 Brians in the office because that'd be too confusing. So he's going by the name Woody. So as soon as he said he wanted to go by Woody, I was like, Halloween costume, here we go. So you're gonna be Woody for Halloween. And everybody told me there's no way he's going to dress up. He dressed up. And so BJ was Bo Peep, Woody was Woody, and then he even had the little pull string. He had a ring on his back so we could do that. And the only thing I couldn't get him to do was say that there's a snake in my boot, but I worked on it. But we had a great time being able to dress up, and I know the students did too. So students in all grades had the opportunity to dress up. So K through 8, we're one large family. These two kids happen to be mine. I always know that they're photo cleared so I can use them. So students were creative in their
Charlie
costumes.
Brown and Lucy?
Yep, Charlie Brown and Lucy. Students and staff had a great time. And we even had one student in 5th grade that dressed up as Mimi Oakman, which was pretty awesome. So it was.
Did you get a picture?
BJ has, I think BJ got the picture, but we shared, yeah, because she shared something with Jean Marie. So that was awesome that we were able to do that. Here's some more staff members and other people that got to join in. I believe that is Mrs. Small, that's Mr. O'Brien up there, and then there's the office crew, and then I was Buzz, and then Emily, it was the one that was Rex there in the middle, and then that's Shadow, our Panther there. We're never sure who Shadow is, so he's just our mascot thing. And then one of the amazing things that the students do, but Laura Berry does for PE, is she puts on an incredible obstacle course. And so in that last picture where there was my daughter, she broke her arm. We went to go teach her how to play. She went to go learn how to play ice hockey. Was on the ice for like 5 minutes, broke her arm. Long story, but it is what it is. And so her first day that week, she just had the cast on, was to do this obstacle course. So I asked her, so what happened to P today? And she's like, well, they had an obstacle course. And I said, well, how was it? And she's like, it was okay. No, the thing was amazing. She had lights in there. She had blow-ups in there. She had video games in there. So it was an incredible PE opportunity. So we do have a video that we'll share out later of the actual obstacle course. And Laura does this all on her own and spends hours on the weekend before just to prepare for the kids. And it was the most extraordinary obstacle course that I'd ever seen in my entire life. So I was so impressed and what she did and what she did for the kids. So and then I got home that day with my daughter. I'm like, what are you talking about? That thing was amazing. She's like, well, did you get to do it? So it wasn't that amazing to her. So she has something to look forward to next year. All right, still working on our mission, vision, core values. So we're working on that student and community input. That's going to be part of our subject for community with our next coffee talk. So that's actually going to be November, December, because our next coffee talk isn't scheduled till December 1st because it's usually the last Wednesday of the month, but we're on Thanksgiving break, trying to finalize that, and then we'll hopefully by December we'll be able to present it. It's a work in progress, but we're getting there. So, but it's something important. We want to make sure we do it correctly because it's something we're going to work with. Okay. So here's my new thing. All right, so we have a space upstairs next to the library that is seldom used, and that is our computer lab. So computer labs in schools aren't typically in existence anymore. And so I think you guys probably remember when I interviewed back in February, we talked a little bit about maker spaces and bringing the whole STEAM education within to Wethersfield. So what I would like to do is to start taking a look at building a makerspace into that space. We can look at where we can fund it from, how we can do it, but to give us a little bit of ideas of what exactly we can do. So for those of you that don't know what a makerspace is, it's a place where people with shared interests, especially in computing and technology, they gather together to work on projects, sharing ideas, equipment, and knowledge. So it's an awesome opportunity for our kids and would bring us up to that next level. So what's nice is Tara Smith, our librarian and media clerk, she's already been starting to look at it because I started planting that seed with her about 2 weeks ago. She's already taken a workshop or 2 workshops. She's already started to dive deep. She's gotten some ideas. We had Jim Taft from the SU come over to take a look at the space to see what we can do. We also have older computers in there that are about 7 to 8 years old. So I would like to be able to wipe those clean and give them out to families in need so that they can use them, so that we can put them right back into our community. But those aren't being utilized at school. So it's a big space up there that is basically not being used. So I have tons of information. There's benefits of makerspace. I'll share this with you as far as different articles on it. And then we're starting to talk to some companies. So we'll have a little bit more plans developed for next time if that's something that we want to start taking a look at to see if we want to go in that direction. Okay.
I may have a couple of things to donate to.
Okay, awesome. So, and then here's actually this. So these are articles in here. And then here's one of the companies that does do some makerspace. So this is basically just a couple formats of some furniture. So they gave some ideas. We'd obviously have to dive a little deeper into what we want and really take a look and measure the space. And these are just some different labs or makerspaces that they've set up. I also want to, we've checked in with, because Heartland has one, and so does Windsor. They have a space. We looked at those, and then also Claremont, as I drive by, they have a public makerspace. And then to be able to take a look at that one as well to see what we can do, and then I can use my knowledge that I have from California with building a couple makerspaces to be able to see what we can, how we can do it. And so it would be something that would benefit all of our students here at school, K through 8, which would be nice. Because right now that lab is just not being utilized at all. And then it's just, it reaches those students that don't always learn a traditional way. Upcoming events, Veterans Day celebration is this Thursday. If you get an opportunity to go there, it's at the square in Perkinsville at 11 a.m. Hopefully it won't be too cold, and I've narrowed my speech down, so it should be less than 10 minutes because I was told to judge it by what the weather was going to be like. Early release day is November 19th, and like I said before, we're going to discuss the Leader in Me. Thanksgiving holidays coming up, and then our next virtual coffee with Lead Learner Me will be on December the 1st, okay? And then we have started to record those sessions as well, so I can give you I'll attach the link to this one when I share out my presentation with you guys. All right, that is it for the board report for today.
Very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the Superintendent Report. David?
Yeah, Brian, I sent you mine. I sent you mine. I can do it either by sharing my screen or if you want to do it like you did yours, Brian.
Absolutely. Let me get onto my email and I can share with.
I sent it to your email. Mine is not quite as exciting as Brian's. The truth is, I love to listen to the principal reports because it's all so kid-based and all so, just, friendly to what's going on in the buildings. And there's just so much exciting stuff that goes on, even in the middle of this crazy pandemic time. I think teachers have made, they've really made the most, they've made the most out of it, to be honest with you. Did you find it, Brian?
I did. It's buffering, so just give me a second here.
Okay.
There it goes.
No problem. You got it?
I got
So
it.
you can share your screen. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we are in November, believe it or not. COVID update, real simple. Less quarantining in general. If you just hit enter, Brian, each bullet will pop in. We are dealing with the winter athletic protocols. And excuse me, I do have a cough. I've had a cough for a while. It's one of the reasons I'm not there, but I have been tested negative for COVID. So it's not COVID. It's just a bad cold that's going around. We've been working with the athletic directors. We are going to have a sports season in each of our districts. There's not going to be a lot of sharing that has to go on. The numbers are strong. I see Jessica here tonight. I don't know if is that later on the agenda, an update?
Yes.
I think it is. Yeah, so Jessica can talk more about her numbers. We're going to start the high school athletic program December 6th, right after the break. I'm sorry, right after the November 29th, sorry. And then the 7-8 program will start on December 6th. And then we will start our K6 folks. We just need a little bit of time to work out logistics within these buildings and, especially at the K6 level, just to be clear about, are we going to go by pods? So we're going to hold off and start that on January 4th or 5th, right after we get back from vacation. So high school starts on November 29th, then middle school on December 6th, and then K to 6 in all of our buildings will start after that. We will put together an athletic COVID handbook. It's already almost done. We had a few things we had to work out about, masking and, whether we're going to have spectators or not. We haven't decided yet completely on middle school and elementary. High school, we're going to have very kind of limited spectators. So we'll see how that goes. But Jessica can fill you in more maybe when she talks a little bit later on. Test to stay, we're just now waiting for the test kits to arrive in the buildings. We are, parents have to secure permission online to be enrolled in Test to Stay. You'll be getting more information on this toward the end of the week, but I think once the kits arrive, hopefully by the end of the week, we can start as early as next Monday. And what Test to Stay does, I think you all know this anyhow, that essentially it really prevents a lot of the quarantining. For those unvaccinated kids, they can test on day 1, 3, 5, and 7 with the antigen test. And as long as that test is negative, they can stay in school. So the hope is to not have to quarantine any classes. As I said, we've done a lot less quarantining in general anyway, and that's thanks to administrators, teachers, families who are just following the protocols. And I think it's really working. I'm listening to some districts around us, and there are some districts where it's a nightmare, and there's still a lot of quarantining going on. So I'm proud of our staff. Next bullet, I think, Brian, if we hit, vaccines for kids. I've sent out a lot of information on this in my email blast. Essentially, Wethersfield is open on November 22nd and December 13th, so we've got some time to plan. It's a 2-dose shot, so that's why we've got 2 dates set up for these vaccines. Right now, I'm working with the nurses on because they threw a little bit of a curveball at us, and instead of making these closed sites just for our kids, they opened them up as public sites. So they're working on it on their end. We don't know if we're going to have to handle a couple of folks from public, but right now there are still slots available at all 3 of our district sites, and our nurses and principals will work out a good system for getting these kids gently and professionally down to the vaccine area. We don't do any of the vaccinating. The Department of Health does it. But it was an opportunity to just bring the vaccines closer to us. We think that there are going to be some shortages of the pediatric vaccine, and these doses are going to become limited. So that's why we jumped on early so that we could open up our sites. There's also a public site from 12:30 to 4 at the Windsor School, November 19th and December 17th. I'll put this out again on Friday to everybody. But that's a public site for adults, boosters, and kids. So if you didn't want to let your child have their vaccine without you present, you could sign up for those public sites and take your child with you. And of course, any child that's getting a vaccine, we consider that an excused absence. And we've already had several kids late to school because they're getting their vaccines. And we encourage that. I know it's tricky for parents because at those young ages, it's only an emergency use authorization. And there are some, I'm sure, some parents that are going to be cautious about this. But we'll take our time. We'll do what we can to at least make it available, and then after that, we'll see whether or not we need to do more after the holidays, because we'll continue to provide whatever our communities want us to provide. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback on this from our parents and from our public. Next slide, Brian. Surveillance testing is probably not going to happen. We just can't do surveillance testing and Test to Stay at the same time. Quite frankly, over 90%, 95 plus, other than the few people who are on religious exemptions, everybody is vaccinated adult-wise. 62% of our high school kids are vaccinated, over 50% of our middle school kids, and we're hoping to get our elementary school kids. So I think the surveillance testing will be moot with Test to Stay. That's my hope. Next slide, Brian. Our anti-racism task force still continues to chug along. We're starting to transition to what I think is a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force. Certainly racism and anti-racism is critical, and we want to make sure we're alert to all those factors that lead to the wrong, understanding of sort of racist activities. But the bottom line is, we also realize that we have a lot of areas, especially in Vermont, where diversity, equity, and inclusion are critical. I know oftentimes Katie Ahern says that her job basically as a special ed director is to make sure that, that kids are included in whatever they can be included in. And that's what we want. We've always been an inclusive school district in Vermont, and we want to continue do that. But that task force still meets. We're taking the policy now and we're adding action steps to 10 indicator points that Dr. Crum pulled out of the policy. And we should have that ready, I think, for the Supervisory Union Board, if not by November 22nd, certainly in December. And as Brian said, I think with our anti-racism task force work and our anti-racism work in general, we're going slow to go fast. We just think we want to be careful as we roll all of these pieces out. There's also a large group of us who are working with Dr. Lavelle Brown, who's a superintendent in Ithaca, New York. He's been a superintendent for about 14 years, working with diversity, equity, and inclusion. He's a internationally known speaker, and we've got the benefit of having access to him for an hour and a half plus per month, and that's been great because he's able to show us and teach us how to implement diversity in our school district without alienating people. He's been really working hard at doing that. And if you ever want to listen to any of you can just Google him and a lot of his YouTube videos will pop up. But he's done an excellent job with us. Next slide, Brian. The budget overview. Local budgets are in the early stages of development. Brian's going to kind of give you an overview tonight of where we are with the Wethersfield budget. And then the next bullet, Brian, is the SU budget. We had our final meeting with the SU Budget Committee. Jamie Turner has been a great member of that committee. She's been faithful to, I don't think she's missed a meeting. We've probably met 5 or 6 times. And we had our final meeting last Friday. I think we're going to have a recommendation to the SU board on November 22nd. The assessments are, I think, I'm biased, but I think they're reasonable. I think especially Katie Ahern did a great job this year with the special ed budget to try to keep that within a reasonable increase, probably half of what it's been in the past. So I really think that we do have a few decisions we have to make on the 22nd, including, and the SU board members will recognize this, but including how we're going to bill out for the food service program. And the committee had a very healthy discussion about this and decided that the food program, really the SU board, has to decide how they want to bill that. Do they want to bill it by ADM or do they want to bill it by equalized pupil? And we're going to give you the pros and cons of both, and then the board can make the decision. But thanks to that committee for the hard work on that budget. Next slide, Brian. The ESSA forums, you could see tonight, Brittany and Angie finished the last ESSA 3 virtual forum. Tonight, we had one in Mount Scottney, one in Heartland, and one in Wethersfield. I think we find in general, and I don't think this is surprising, given where people are today in the business of their lives, that the forums are not always as well attended. We'll probably try one more shot at some kind of feedback that Brittany and Angie and I will certainly talk about with the administrative team. But we got some good feedback on the last survey, and we've gotten some good suggestions at these forums. And I just thank Brittany and Angie for all the work they put into that. And all the sessions, well, I think at least 2 of them recorded. I know we recorded the Wethersfield one. And did all 3 of them get recorded, Angie? Yeah, Angie's saying yes. So we'll get those recordings up also on our website so that people can at least get the overview of ESSA 3. I think a lot of what we want to do is dispel the rumors that started early on when this federal money became available. There were numbers being thrown around in all 3 of our communities. What are you going to do with the 14 million? I heard 14 million. I heard 40 million. The truth is, it's about $4 million with all of that ESSER 1, 2, and 3, and the earlier version of the ARP money. So, we don't want to sniffle at $4 million. That's going to help us. And as Angie said tonight, that money takes us right through 2024, is it, or 25, Angie? 24?
September 30th, 2024.
Okay, good. So that's a good use of money. And last slide, I think, Brian, negotiations. Yeah. And I don't know if Jackie made it here or not tonight. I know she was going to be a little bit late, but she's been, again, a very active member of the negotiating team. She does not miss negotiating sessions or meetings. The teacher mediation, we're going to come back to the mediation table again in December. The mediator felt that we were close enough to try one more time. And I agree. I think we are close enough to try one more time. Because after mediation, if we can't mediate an agreement, then it really becomes a little bit more costly and a little bit more aggravating, to be honest with you, on both sides, with the teachers and with administration, because you have to go to fact finding. You wait 10 days for the fact finding report to come back. I won't get into all the details, but it's a very cumbersome process. And quite frankly, I think, our school boards are very teacher friendly, and our teachers deserve a contract, and we want to try to get to that point where we can. And what we're trying to do is more than a 1-year deal. I think both teachers and administrators and board members, quite frankly, are tired of coming back year after year after year to the table. It wears on everybody's emotions and climate and attitude. And I think we've been fighting through a difficult time, and having a contract will, I think, boost morale. So I'm trying to look at the glass half full and be optimistic, and we'll see what happens. I think it's December 11th, but don't quote me on that. And then last bullet, Brian, I think, is the support staff. Again, Barb Thomas is the lead negotiator. She actually happens to be working this year in Wethersfield. The board is prepared. We have our proposals. We have our salary proposal, all of our language proposals. Not a lot. We want to keep it simple. And again, our support staff deserves a contract, and we want to try to deliver that to them. So I'm going to stay optimistic about the support staff contract as well. I told Barb jokingly the other day when I was at Wethersfield, and BJ too is really instrumental in helping on the support staff side. But I'd love to see a couple of negotiating sessions and we're done. And again, maybe I'm being too optimistic, but at least the support staff right now have a contract through June 30, and we'd like to negotiate that contract so that we have numbers to put in our budgets, and we also have a more content staff that knows that they have a contract. I think that's the last slide, Brian. If you click, it goes back to the PowerPoint. Yeah, you can just take that down if you want. If there are any questions, I'll certainly answer them. If not, that's my report. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay, I don't see any questions. If anyone has a question, raise your hand. Your computer hand, not your physical hand. Okay, I don't see any, so we'll move on to items for discussion. And first up is winter sports, and I see Jessica's here, so I'm going to turn over the mic to you.
Hi, everybody. So David covered it, I think, mostly. I just wanted to give a quick recap on the fall. We had 139 fall athletes. That's with cross country and soccer combined, 18 coaches and volunteers. I think 139 just speaks volume with what is our total 231, Brian. That's
Yes.
pretty significant number of athletes. We will be having winter sports, as David said, and we've been working to try to figure out how that looks. I know that elementary athletics likely won't start until after January. Middle school will be starting December 6th, as David said, with just practices for the month of December with their team, and then hopefully starting games in January. And we will be opening up registrations this week, closing them the week after Thanksgiving to get a number. We're not sure what our numbers look like for junior high yet. But hopefully, I know our girls teams look robust, and like we might have to split into 2 teams because we have enough numbers. Our boys team, we might have to combine with some Windsor athletes. So other than that, we're looking good for hopefully a smooth winter season.
Okay, and then next is does anyone have any questions for Jessica? Don't see any. Oh, Kristen Russo.
Hey, Jess. So did we cover, and I think I was getting mixed messages from parents about spectators.
Have we determined what's going on with that yet, or is that still up in the air?
Great question, Kristen. So for right now, just for practices for the month of December for junior high, it'll be just athletes and coaches only. Hopefully, we'll be able to reevaluate that in January. But as of right now, just the practices are closed practices. So come, play, leave, and then we'll reevaluate in January after the holiday season.
Okay. Yeah, if I had to give an opinion, not that anyone asked, but if I had
We'll
to
take
give,
it.
yeah. And I don't know if board members have an opinion or if I'm the only sports fanatic. I read the guidelines. I think it was like the end of October, right, that it came out. And I mean, it says like if there aren't any major outbreaks, and I don't think Wethersfield has had any. Then I would expect that we could even maybe allow in January or February some of our younger kiddos to play other teams. I mean, I don't know how other people feel about that, but I'm just throwing it out there that especially if these younger kiddos can get vaccinated, then we shouldn't hinder them from being able to play other teams and have people watch.
Yeah, Kristen, I think that's the plan. David, correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to have a sports program for the K through 6. It's just going to start late, unfortunately. And I think we're going to use the middle school as kind of our let's see how it goes. We're definitely playing other teams. I've already scheduled other teams starting in January for junior high. I've already scheduled other teams for K through 6, actually, in the hopes that we'll be able to play those. So everything's already like planned and ahead of time.
Okay.
So if we are able to do that, we would love that. And then I don't think it's necessary for us to have spectators at practices.
No.
But should we get to the point where we are hosting home games, I would really love to have some or a very limited number of home spectators. What some other schools are doing is permitting, my kids are barking, is they're permitting just home parents, families there. So I actually have a meeting tomorrow with Springfield, Chester, Ludlow, Cavendish, and I'm blanking on the last school, but we have a meeting tomorrow night to talk about what it kind of looks like for the other schools. So I'll have a little bit more information on what other schools and area schools are doing that we play for the K through 6 level.
Yeah. And Jessica, I would say, let us know, how you make out at that meeting too, because it would be helpful for us, because you tend to organize with a little bit of a different group of teams, that tend to head that way than Heartland does. So it'd be good. I don't know whether you got the message the other day that, we are going to allow our kids to play New Hampshire teams too. Because originally we were saying maybe no, but did you get that word the other day?
Yeah, I got that for junior high, and I've scheduled junior high games with Plainfield. So.
All right, good. Yeah. So Kristen, I think that those are great questions. And I think what we want to try to do is just see what the holidays bring, get the practices under our belt. I mean, there's definitely going to be a program barring some kind of a crazy outbreak. And then really it'll be a question of how comfortable are the principals essentially with, additional adults in the building, spectators in the building. I think the compromise will probably be with some, especially at the middle school level, some limited number of spectators. But, our kids are ready, and I think our parents are, and I could even hear it in your voice, Kristen. People are ready to get back. People are ready to get back to some semblance of normalcy. But again, the thing we have to keep in mind that was different from outdoor athletics is that, it does start to open our buildings to the public again. And I know that we still have some compromised, staff members. We still have a bunch of kids that aren't vaccinated. And I mean, I don't want to, I certainly want to stay away from the hype of all this, but I think we'll just watch it. And I think I'm glad you spoke up, because I know I've heard Heartland had the same question. Windsor, even with limited spectators, I mean, Windsor is a sports town, right? And they would jam that gymnasium if they could. And so we're just trying to be reasonable and compromise and honor that athletic tradition, but without compromising our school day, right? I mean, that's the hard part, but I think we'll work it out. And Jessica has worked really hard to, I think once we see those numbers too, it'd be great if we could get those numbers up again. That would be good.
Jessica Brown?
Hey, thanks. So I just have a few comments to, piggyback off of what Kristen said and what's been being talked about. So as a parent, I really hope it would be interesting to see what other schools are saying about their visitor policy for for visiting families coming to games. So I think that's important when we relay that information to our athletes and parents of athletes, that we sort of include that, like other schools are, other schools aren't, because I think some people think it's just our school that's not allowing that, right? So I've already heard that, like, can you believe it? We're not going to be able to go watch our kids play sports, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, let's be happy we're playing basketball. So I think that's sort of something for whoever makes that announcement, to sort of keep in mind. On the flip side of that, if I'm going to drive my kid a half hour to a sports game and then sit in a parking lot while they play their hour game, like, that's a little discouraging. We don't have buses to, bus our kids to away games. So I think that's another thing as we're making our decision to sort of keep in mind. Like, you're going to have a parking lot full of people that can't come in and watch their kids, that are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, especially in some of these towns that have nothing to do. So those are sort of my comments as we, work on this and, figure out our game plan.
Jess, that's great.
That's great.
Thanks for sharing. I know that some area schools that were able to participate last year, rec centers, because we're in that weird bubble of rec versus school. Area rec centers actually live streamed their games for the visiting teams that were not, they actually weren't permitting home or away spectators at any of the games, just the kids. So I thought that was a really nice option. I know Ludlow did that and Springfield did that. So I'm hopeful that if we aren't allowed to have spectators at away games, that something like that will be an option. So just know we are thinking about it, and we understand parents are driving and dropping and not being able to see and cheer. But if we're able to at least live stream it, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, and Jessica, the only other thing I'd say, and those are good comments, Jess. I will tell you that we tried to get the superintendents in the Southeast region on the same page, but that's like herding cats. I mean, it didn't work really well and your point is a very good point. Like in Woodstock, even at the high school level, they're having no spectators. Nobody's getting in that gymnasium at least till January, at the end of January. And then you've got Hartford just down the road a piece, and Hartford's letting everybody in the gymnasium. So it runs the whole course, and we're trying to find that middle ground to some degree. And what we have said in our COVID handbook is that we follow the home team rules, right? So if the home team says no visiting spectators, then there are no visiting spectators. For home games, I agree with Jessica. I think if a parent's going to bring a kid to a game, that we'd like to be able to have that parent not have to wait out in the car, while that game's going on. So stay tuned, and we're going to try to get this together, sooner than later.
Meredith, Kelly?
Hi, all. I just wanted to add, I wonder, I have older children and I'm happy to send them into the school unattended, but I'm curious on folks who have younger children, how they're going to feel comfortable with that decision. So that might affect the numbers of the younger kids. Having them go into a parent or somebody they don't know for an hour for practice might impact that. But I'm happy to have it back. I just hope all things are considered when making the decision on the K6 as well as 7-8.
Thanks, Meredith. Any more comments? Questions? Okay, I don't see any, so we'll move on to the budget for FY23. I believe Brian has a presentation for us.
Of course I do. All right. Oops.
I don't need to jazz up my meetings now.
Why does it go up?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do present mode, so it's big. All right. All right. All right, so here's our proposed budget for the FY23. Is that big enough for everybody to see? Why isn't it letting me do this now? Hold on. All right, hold on. I'm going to stop sharing and reshare. Pardon me. Sorry. Technical difficulty. Tab. Budget. That. There we go. That looks better. All right, so here is our proposed budget for the 23 school year. So our budget goal is, of course, alignment of budget with strategic plan, continuous improvement plan, and education quality standards. Goal 1, student success and engagement, leader and me, comprehensive assessment plan, developing of the middle school model, co-teaching, interdisciplinary approach to teaching and learning, student-driven learning, and universal design for learning implementation. Goal 2, culture and student wellness, student advisory boards and council. We're working on getting student council up and some student advisory boards, as far as also with even looking at our mission, vision, and core values. Diversity and equity work, restorative approaches, MTSS, health and wellness, mental health services, our school counselor, our HCRS clinician, and our We Are Hope and Panorama. Child nutrition at no cost to families, and just our overall school schedule. And so information and communication, we are engaging the community through weekly updates and newsletters, through our website, through social media. If you're not following me on Twitter, please do. Our data dashboard, which will be coming soon. Limited community events. We are planning a community event as far as where we do a drive-through dinner right before our next board meeting. And then leader in me as well. All right, so here is our Wethersfield School District budget as it's based on from the SU for our SU assessment. So locally, 77.5% is done here within Wethersfield, and then the other 22.5% goes through our different costs through early childhood, admin and operations, special ed, and food services. All right, so this is our overall wages for everybody, and that number, I have the numbers on here. So wages is $1,762,421, or about 26.5% of our overall budget. Benefits, $605,095, which is about 9%. And then you can see the comparison between previous years. Contracted services, which is 0.67%, which is 44,000. And so that stayed pretty static. Actually went down just a little bit from last year. Maintenance repair, making sure everything's up and running with the school, which is 1.7% of our budget, or 113,000. Transportation, love it when it goes down. So, and obviously that is taken care of by the SU primarily. And then we do have $9,000 because we do have transportation slotted for next year for athletics, with the hope that we'll actually be able to visit other schools and not have to have parents driving and waiting in the parking lot. So we do have money in there, but it is $9,000. So it's a small amount, but it's in there. And then communication, insurance, and postage, which is $35,000, which sounds like a lot to me, but that's standard as far as what has been going on, and that's about 0.5%. And then, oops, sorry, I went too quick. I got too excited. And then tuition. This is for our high schoolers, so 9th through 12th grade, and that tuition cost always goes up, and that's 31.82%. of our, because we have the high school choice. So that is $2,121,997 is the expected budget for that. So that's a huge chunk of our budget every year. Gee, this thing is sensitive today. Travel expenses, pretty minimal, $1,200. Local assessments, 1.4 million, almost $1.5 million, or 22% of our budget. Supplies and textbooks. And you guys have the breakdown of the, okay, so, all right, about 45, 46,000. Energy costs, and this includes not only our power, but it also includes our wood boiler, or not wood boiler, our chip to burn. So, and that's always expensive, but that's 81,000. Miscellaneous equipment, about $3,000, and that stayed static. Dues and fees, $9,100. Oh, that's our deb. Did I skip one? Oh. Dues and fees, I did not add it in there, but dues and fees is about $9,100. So I missed that one in there. I apologize. I don't know what happened to that slide. And then our debt service is our bill that we still owe on this building that will last for about another 7 years. And that's $356,932. So a grand total of $6,668,293. And that breaks down right here. So you can see exactly where everything's going. A lot of different colors in there. And that does say maintenance and repairs. It just cuts off weird. So it's not that I spelled maintenance incorrectly. That gives you sort of a visual there of where all the money is going. So over half of our money goes between wages and tuition for high school. And then benefits is or assessments, and then benefits is the next big one in there. All right, so I met with the Budget Advisory Committee, and so here's a couple of things. One of the questions that came up is there field maintenance in the budget to maintain playing fields for sports. There's a small amount in there. Our fields are in pretty good shape, and so we are usually able to take care of that locally. Athletics, are we combined with other districts for teams? No, we're not. We are just Weathersfield teams this year, which is awesome. And so one of the things on the detailed budget, we have about $25,000 in substitute costs for substitute teachers. And someone asked if we really need that much. That is about the average cost over the course of the years of about $25,000. Last year, I think when we talked about, we used about 15,000, I think they said. Today, when we talked to Ed, it was about 15,000 we used, but it's also harder to get subs right now. The cost of a sub is $100. So when we can get subs. Early childhood numbers for this year, those numbers were 20, I think we had 21 students in the early childhood for that amount of the money. Right now, we're missing 2 para educators for general ed, and right now they're not in the budget. So one of the suggestions was to possibly add those back in there. They would like to make sure that we add a world language position back in the budget, which I know is a goal of ours as a board in the school. Wanted to know about the projected class sizes for FY23. Hopefully we're going to keep the class sizes about the same. We've already had that discussion a little bit, and I do have a proposal for class sizes where we should be keeping our numbers about the same. I would like to add on that, because we were missing a 3rd grade teacher this year, to make sure we add that teacher on for 4th grade for next year, so that we can give those students a little bit of a break. And so we may have an increase of 1 teacher. So we're going to probably have to allot that in there. So this is, like I said, it's a rough draft. They'd also looked at saying, let's add drama into the budget, as far as a drama production, not drama like chaos.
That exists already.
Yeah. So, and then equity and after school programs, should transportation be offered? So if we're offering after school programs, and if kids have to travel back to school, it should be offered. That was a good question. Cost of electricity, is there any cost savings from solar? And as I was explaining too, that our solar was actually that we didn't purchase the panels, but we are getting a reduction of about 10 to 15% of our electricity cost on those. So thank you for that clarification. Questions on food services. I said food services was amazing, because it really is. I also am comparing it to California. but what they are able to serve our kids, and we still have that farm to table initiative so that we're using local vendors for our food, and it is all cooked. Lunch is all cooked here. Breakfast is some of the prepackaged stuff, but not so bad. But my daughter swears by the strawberry bagel. She loves those things. And then what is the charge of the BAC? Really just to help me with that budget process, to be able to give me that insight, which was some great information today by being able to discuss that with our Budget Advisory Committee, and then be able to share that information with our community, make sure that they know what we're doing here at school. I think it's been great that we've been so transparent as far as exactly what's going on and sharing all the wonderful things we're doing here at school. I know that was fast, but. All right, questions. So I'm going to quit sharing so I can see people's faces.
Unable to look over the budget that you sent out, but how do we compare to last year's now?
We are like right now, currently we're 1% above last year. That number could fluctuate and become a little bit more if we add some of those extra positions, but we can look at those and make some adjustments.
There were a few comments in the chat.
Okay.
Comment and a question.
Okay.
Okay, well, Jessica, our athletic director, is very excited to have the possibility to have athletics transportation added back into the budget.
Alright.
That's a possibility, we haven't fully decided on.
Yep.
Meredith Kelly asks, how many fifth grade teachers are budgeted for next year? 2. And Kelly O'Brien, how much did the budget go up from this year? So that
Currently about
was
like,
asked, so that's
yeah, it's about
1%.
1%, a little over 1%, like 1.2% or something. It's really, yeah, it's a 1.44.
Does anyone else have any questions for Brian?
David had his hand raised, and then Becky.
Okay, David?
Yeah, first of all, I don't want to give him too big a head, but Brian has really done a great job getting his hands around this budget, and being a first-year Vermont principal, you know, kind of working through all of this, you know, with Ed and even having that initial meeting with the Budget Advisory Committee. And I think the news generally, I mean, we're not going to know till those numbers come in with, you know, I think it's good that we look at the expenditure budget first before we look at, tax rates, because sometimes tax rates are affected by things we have no control over. You know, we've learned that over the years. But I will say that 1 to 2% increase, 1.44, which, you know, could become 2 once contracts are settled, and, you know, trust me, it's probably not going to go down. It's probably going to go up a little, and that's also conditional on us being successful in budgeting with those ESSA 3 monies. Right now, I think it's 2 of the teachers at Weathersfield, to help protect those class sizes, are being budgeted through the ESSA grant. And the plan is to continue to do that, you know, and Weathersfield's not the only school that we did that, but, you know, so I think we'll be able to do that as we go forward. I just think we ought to, it looks like you're going to get those answers to the questions the Budget Advisory Committee asked. We can also get a tentative number on, because we used to do some after-school transportation, and I think we could go back a couple of budgets and see what that cost us, and just project out. But I think the board's probably at their December meeting, we're going to have to get, you know, pretty serious around the expenditure budget and the detail with that expenditure budget and what we want to add and what we don't want to add. So that by January, I think BJ will tell us that somewhere in January, this is the crazy part about this, you know, we have to have that town report ready to go to print. So yeah, that's it for me. But I just think the initial slice that Brian did is certainly a good one.
Becky?
I just wanted to know what the total budget was, and maybe BJ could just mail that to me in an email or something, or if there's a form that says that, just so I can put it in the minutes. I heard
Brian,
part of it, but
Yep.
not all of it.
I can share that with you. And I just wanted to thank BJ for out. She was amazing to help out. And then I was able to, BJ and I were also able to meet with Jean Marie too, to get some grasp on it. But yeah, thank you again, BJ, for all your help with the budget.
Any more comments on the budget? Questions? One thing that, not to just keep adding things to add to the budget, but one thing that I know a lot of our community members were upset about was the cutting of our summer program.
Mm-hmm.
And for, that we have here at Weathersfield, not to be confused with the Summer Academy, but our Weathersfield summer program. So I know that that's fairly inexpensive. It was around $10,000 or $11,000 and served 20 or more kids, I believe. So I don't know if that's something that could be squeezed into the budget or not. The one thing I'm always confused about, David, maybe you can answer this, is how does, I know we had a lot of extra money that wasn't spent from last year's budget because of not having the 1 3rd grade teacher, and I believe a couple other positions that weren't filled. How are we able to do anything with that money, or the $5,000 that we saved on transportation for the algebra kids? That money be able to be used for anything else, or?
Yeah, we can double check that, Anne Marie, but I'm pretty sure, I think at the end of last fiscal year, right, as of June 30th, I think you basically broke even. I don't think there was a ton of carryover. I mean, Brian, that might be a good thing for us to reach out to Ed and just verify that one more time. So there wouldn't be anything to apply to. I mean, the good news is we don't have to cover a deficit either, but we don't have to, I don't think we've got much to apply to a surplus. I think those amounts around summer programming though, and those other issues around transportation, I think we're going to find out that even that after school transportation, it wasn't tens of thousands. It was in, like you said, Anne Marie, the 10 to 11,000 range. I think we could look at some of that and see if this would be the year to put some of that back in.
I was actually not talking about last year, David, but this year, like the 5,000 that we're saving for the algebra.
Oh, this year. Oh, okay. Yeah. So sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah. So this year, those savings, I mean, we could certainly look, like when we get the second quarter financials, we could look at that. And then if there are some, let's say you're carrying a $200,000 surplus, you could look at, certainly supplies, equipment, things like that you might want to do, this year that so you wouldn't have to defer those to next year. But you can't take the balance from this year and then apply that. It doesn't roll over. You have to wait 1 year. So any surplus we have this year won't be applied till the year after next.
And that's what I get confused about that part. They have to
Yeah,
wait a year.
no, I get it.
Okay, so no, there aren't any other questions about the budget? I don't see anyone's hand. Okay, we'll move on to the update about Hicks Nichols, and I see Diana's here. Diana, are you going to give that update?
I am. Thank you, Anne Marie. So at your last board meeting, you put Hicks Nichols on the agenda. And after your last meeting, I sent out the application. I updated it to have this current year on it. And I sent it out to the staff members, teachers, and support staff personnel. BJ helped me. I asked her a big favor if she could somehow get it out to the townspeople. I did have a couple email from townspeople just wanting clarifying, with some clarifying questions about what's the use for it. We had a Hicks Nichols committee meeting last night. We have one application, but we wanted more information. So tonight we do not have anything to present to the board. We're waiting for some more information on that application. We might be able to present at your next board meeting, the application. Also, Dr. Baker, the committee members asked last night how how do we know how long we're on the Hicks-Nichols committee? Because when it was originally mentioned the previous year, there was 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year term. How do we know what term we have?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I haven't really tracked that Hicks-Nichols. I know the bylaws do talk about 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year terms. BJ, do you know how we might be able to figure that out?
I think we might be able to look back in the minutes because I thought I remember them saying in the minutes of a meeting when we nominated or approved the members that it was a term limit with those names.
Okay, yeah, let's Brian, you and I will
Okay.
look at that. Diana, who's on the committee right now?
And here I'm going to get in trouble for mispronunciation of names. But
Sorry about that.
that's okay. It's I'll start easy. Jessica Brown, Tara
beautiful.
Smith, Will Hunter, Kristen Brusso, Amy Beth Main, and Janine Sarah Gosso. Yeah, that one.
Close enough. Yeah, I like that. So then it sounds like 6 people, right? So that would mean 2 of them have a 1 year, 2 of them have a 2 year, and 2 of them have a 3 year. You think that's how that works? I know you asked me, but I'm asking you now. But what we need to know who actually has those terms, though, right?
Right. And I know when I can speak for myself personally, when I put my name in the hat, as I did, I asked for it to be a 3 year position, but I don't know if it was or not.
Yeah, we can go back in those minutes. I mean, my guess is nobody's going to fight you for a 3 year position, and I hope yours was the 3 year position because it's just, we need to just have some consistency on that committee. It just seems like the last year or so it's run much more smoothly, than it maybe had in the past. But so we'll find that out and get that information out to the committee members who's up, for election this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, up next,
Becky's still
oh,
there.
sorry, Becky.
Oh, I was just gonna say for the committee, the Hicks-Nichols, it was also the terms were based by whether you were a teacher, a community member. It was like categories too. So you wanted to make sure you left like the 1, 2, 3. It was split up between the categories of the people. I just don't remember all the categories. I just remember teacher and community.
Yeah, I recall that too, and hopefully that's all in the minutes, so hopefully we'll get all that information. Up next, we have teacher negotiations, which I think David already did, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Items for action, I don't think we have anything we need to act on. And then next is setting the next agenda. So our next meeting will be the second Tuesday in December at 6:30. Is that?
What's the date, Ann?
I don't have my calendar in front of me. Does anybody
December
know what the
14th.
second? It's what?
December 14th.
December 14th. So it will be December 14th at 6:30. Oh, are we 6? Okay, I always get
Yeah,
that confused.
6.
That's you. Yeah, okay, at 6, yeah. December 14th at 6 p.m. And yeah, I know, is Jessica still here? Yeah, I know we'd like to get another sports update just to see how things are going and how signups went and everything, what our numbers are. Oh, did she leave? Okay, well, you can let her know.
Yep, absolutely.
We'd like her there. And of course, the budget is going to be the big thing for next month.
That's why, Ann, I'd leave a lot of time for that budget discussion.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone else has anything else that we need to add, but I think.
Arkansas 3, I'll do that update with David's report.
Okay, so that'll be part of superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be ESER 3 and with the superintendent's report.
Summer Academy, oh no, we're
That's
doing
gonna be
that
in
as
ASU.
you. Okay.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to discuss at next time's meeting? Danny? Okay, so I think we'll leave that then. If anyone has anything later, they can email me, but I think the budget is going to take up that. And then I guess next would be executive session, so I to go into
Nope.
executive. Right, David?
Yeah, we'll need a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Jamie's making the motion. Do I have a second?
Somebody
I'll second. It's Kristen.
Kristen seconded.